Hi, my name is Alex and welcome to English Rewind, Episode 9. Practice makes perfect. This is a very well-known English expression. It means that the more you practice something, the better you become at it. So, for example, if I keep practicing playing the guitar, I'll become better. Or, if I keep practicing dancing, I'll become a better dancer. And in the same way, the more you practice speaking, the better you become at it. There is another well-known English expression. You learn from your mistakes. Many people believe that you learn a lot quicker when you make mistakes. It's like the child who learns how to walk. She will try many times to stand on her own 2 feet, but will also fall down many times. But every time she falls and gets back up again, she becomes better at walking. Finally, after falling many times, she stops falling and is able to walk on her own. But is it the same with languages? Do languages work the same? Can you really learn from your mistakes when you practice speaking? Does making mistakes really teach you how to speak correctly? Personally, I would say yes, but also no. When you practice speaking, you become better at it. You become more confident. But just because you're getting better at speaking and you have more confidence, doesn't mean you aren't making mistakes. And although you can learn from your mistakes, what happens when you don't know you're making a mistake? What happens when you practice bad English? Practice makes perfect, right? So you'll become perfect at speaking poor English. The only way you can learn from your mistakes is if you know you're making a mistake. So someone needs to correct you. But if a native speaker doesn't correct you, you'll think you're correct even when you're making mistakes. The only thing you will though be learning and improving is speaking poor English. But let's be honest, it's impossible to have someone who will correct all your mistakes all the time. People just don't do that. When you're speaking in English, people don't have time to correct every mistake you make. You will have to learn how to correct most of your own mistakes. But how, you may ask? I'm not a native speaker. How am I supposed to know when I'm making a mistake? Well, think about the child who tried to walk. Where did she learn to walk? Well, she learned it from her parents. She saw them walking. She saw how they did it. So, she knew that walking meant standing on her own 2 legs. That's why every time she tried to stand and fell down, she knew she was making a mistake. She had her parents' examples. She knew that she couldn't use her hands to walk. So she corrected herself until she could stand like her parents. Languages are the same. You learn by listening to native speakers. You learn by hearing how they use the language. And after listening enough, you try and do the same. You start with words, and then you make short sentences. But when you're a child though, you can only say what you've heard. You can't make something up because you don't know anything else. You don't know other languages. You only say the same sentences your parents do. And when you say something weird or wrong, you know that you're making a mistake. Why? Well, because you know that your parents never speak that way. You have heard them use those sentences and words over and over again. So you understand how it should sound. You understand how it works. And it didn't happen in a week. It didn't happen in a month. It took a long time. But sadly, this is not how people try and learn languages today. And because of this, people struggle with bad accents, bad grammar, and they sound unnatural. Almost everyone today uses textbooks. They try to speak too quickly, and they don't listen to native speakers. And in the end, they teach themselves poor English. Just because you know grammar rules and word definitions, don't think that you're speaking the language correctly. Don't think you sound natural. Just because people aren't correcting you, don't think you aren't making mistakes. And don't think that making the same mistake over and over again will somehow help you. Unless you know that you're making a mistake, and you're correcting it, you're only teaching yourself to speak incorrectly. You're not teaching yourself how to sound like a native. This is it for episode 9 of English Rewind. This was only part 1 of my Correct Your Own Mistakes series. In the next episode, I will talk about this topic a bit more. But for now, don't think that I'm saying you may not make mistakes. And I'm not saying you may not use textbooks. Rather, I'm saying that you should learn how to correct your own mistakes. You need to learn how natural and native English sounds. Don't speak English that doesn't exist. Don't practice sounding like a foreigner. The more you practice the wrong way, the more difficult it becomes to do it the right way. Until next time, cheers!